Hello, I'm Jack Garland. I'm here to talk about all the changes Rob Manfred's done to baseball and how he's destroying a great game. Today, as you can see, we're talking about the ABS, the automated balls and strikes. Why robots calling balls and strikes in baseball is a bad idea. Let's get it. All right. So let's talk about why reviewing balls and strikes is bad baseball. In my opinion, the strike zone is not absolute. It changes from player to player based on how tall a player is, their batting stance, how deep they crouch before they swing, and any natural movement that might arise from the swing. If you imagine you're standing up tall and you lean forward and your head goes down a little bit, has the strike zone gone down? I don't think so. It doesn't matter. It's up for debate. It is in the eyes of the home plate umpire. He dictates the strike zone from the first inning to the last, and as a pitcher and as a batter, as a catcher, you need to pick up on what that home plate umpire strike zone is. Turning balls and strikes into replay decisions assumes there is one correct answer. And as I was just explaining, there is not one correct answer. That is a false assumption. Okay, so as I was saying, the strike zone, in my eyes, is what I would call a judgment zone. It's in the eyes of the home plate umpire. It is not a fixed measurement zone. Okay? It's a clear distinction you need to make. If you don't agree with that, how do you see it? I'll explain it technically how you see it, because this is how I see it. In true baseball, the umpires, they use their own two eyes and they they call the balls and strikes as they see it. If a pitch is, if you disagree, you need to track, okay, this is how the umpire sees it. It's not how I saw it, but this is how the umpire sees it. He's the umpire. He's the one calling the game. I need to adjust to him. So effectively, what does this mean? This means that the strike zone, in a way, the strike zone changes really from game to game depending on the umpire. Okay, that's where the strike zone comes from, the home plate umpire. But with this replay and automated balls and strikes system, now the strike zone would be externally imposed by T-Mobile. Like what? It just fixing a strike zone onto a screen and saying like, oh, that's what the strike zone was. How did the umpire not see that? How did the batter not see? How did the catcher like? It's not that clear and defined. It fluctuates. And so when we externally impose the strike zone, we're removing all context from the actual, face-off that we just saw. It's thrown out the window. Let's see what T-Mobile says. These players are judged against an abstract box, a robotic box, not a living opponent, not an umpire. Not like it's just ridiculous. Why are we watching robots play sports? Is that what you want to do? It's not what I want to do. My point is that, yeah, consistency does matter, but mechanical correctness, what we're just assigning according to a robot as a ball or strike, that doesn't actually make the game fair. That's not what baseball has been. It's not what it's about. If we want to say like, hey, there's this, three-dimensional box right behind you, and if the ball hits this virtual three-dimensional box, that's what is a strike. But that's not what baseball has been for the past 100+ years. Okay? So make that distinction. Understand where the strike zone comes from. Let's talk about what baseball is losing if these umpires and their calls are effectively removed. This is a larger conversation, and it applies really to life. But I will just talk about baseball because that's what we're talking about. Sometimes there are calls that are, in your eyes, a wrong call. And if you're a player that has a wrong call called on you, sometimes you just need to accept it. You can let your managers argue for you all you want, but you as the player, it's your job to be a professional out there and just accept the call. Okay? Maybe you're wrong. The umpire is the umpire. His job is to make the calls. They didn't just pick some random Joe Schmo out of the outfield, from the stands and say, hey, you're umpire, you're the one deciding balls, strikes, all this stuff. This is a professional baseball umpire. He's been doing it his whole life. He's got tons of experience. He's the best in the world at this. All these guys are the best in the world at this, okay? I understand that they're not perfect, but like I was saying, calls in general are not so binary, okay? There is gray areas, and these guys are doing their best, okay? They're doing their best. So again, you just need to accept some calls that go against you. Head down, back to the dugout, on to the next play, okay? And like I was saying earlier, these strike zones, they change and they, adjust to the home plate umpire. It's his strike zone, okay? As a batter or a pitcher, you should learn throughout the game, oh, this umpire strike zone is pretty high. This umpire likes to call pitches that are outside strikes. Learn that, recognize that, so the next time you come up, you're prepared and you're not going to let another call that you call be a bad call affect your output. You're going to recognize, like, okay, this bad call is the call. So I will adjust. That pitch that I think is a ball is now actually a strike. I got to remember that he's going to call that a strike. I should probably protect the plate and swing. Okay? The best hitters have always adjusted to an umpire strike zone. And the best pitchers have always exploited the edges of the strike zone. That's how baseball works. And if an umpire is consistently calling a pitch that's just off the zone a strike, that's going to be a strike all day. And if the pitcher can get it right there and get that strike call, good for him. Okay? Complaining does not change reality. Okay? That applies in life and in baseball. Complaining does not change reality. Adapting does. Adapting. Let's talk about framing, because that's really what is being affected here ultimately. A catcher framing is a legitimate skill, okay? It's not lucky, it's not, wrong. Like, it is a part of the game and it is a skill and it needs to be preserved, okay? We cannot do away entirely with catchers framing. Like I was saying, it's not lucky, okay? These are the best catchers in the world. And the best at framing have incredible hand strength, timing, subtlety. That's really what it's about. And pitch anticipation. You know that a ball is, moving like this, you would naturally go like that. If you see a ball slightly outside, you go, whoop, whoop, whoop. Bam. You've just turned a ball into a strike. Umpire didn't catch your little sly move of motion of catching the ball and bringing it into the strike zone. He didn't catch it. That was impressive. And because of that skill that is valuable to your team, you get strike calls because of your skill. Framing is trained, it is scouted, and it's always been valued. Okay? If we get rid of framing, what are we doing? We are devaluing an entire position skill set. There's dudes that make it to the pros because they're so good at framing. Catchers are like, let's be realistic. Catchers are not making it to the pros because they're like home run hitters. I mean, let's face it, it's not entirely true. A lot of them are, good hitters, but they're not like the best hitters are usually like in the outfield or whatever. Like, if you're gonna be a catcher, you still need to be able to catch, okay? And you need to be like, if you can frame, that's extremely helpful and valuable. Extremely, okay? We cannot just be completely getting rid of the effectiveness of framing. We can't just turn these catchers into just some guy back there that's a passive receiver. They need to be actively involved in the game. And again, getting rid of framing would be rewarding pitchers less for command. If they can throw a pitch that's right on the edge, maybe just outside, and a catcher can frame it, that's a good pitch. The umpire calls it a strike, it's a good pitch. And again, we're talking about humans playing here. Head-to-head human competition governed by humans. Framing, when it comes down to it, really is about persuasion. And persuasion has always been a part of baseball. Whether it's literally managers arguing and umpires saying, how the hell did you see that? You should change the call, or the catcher framing. It's just part of the game. Okay, so what do we talk about today? Baseball, as a reminder, is played between humans on a baseball field. It is not robots in a courtroom, okay? There's not evidence and one almighty power that says, strike. That's not how this works, okay? There's umpires, there's a human, and humans playing the game. And let's not take away from what catchers are able to do. The best catchers in the world can frame, and it's not cheating. It's a form of strategy and persuasion within competition. You see this in all sports. There's nothing wrong with it. It's encouraged, at least should be, Rob. And again, the idea, just conceptually, the idea of a 100% accurate strike zone, that idea is inherently flawed. That does not exist. So how are we supposed to implement that? Okay. Players and fans, I agree, they do deserve fairness. But let's be open and honest about what fairness is and how does it apply to baseball. In my opinion, fairness comes from a stable human strike zone. In the sport of baseball, which is over 100 years old, that's where the fairness in balls and strikes comes from. It does not come from a robotic strike zone that takes in no context, okay? So in effect, yeah, Rob did not just change the rules. This shows that he misunderstood what kind of fairness baseball requires. Thank you, Rob.